people look at the court of law and only see black and white, and they're gonna call Gunna a snitch. I'm telling you this right now. This deal he took, which again, I am not in no way, shape, or form saying he's cooperating, but the ignorance of the streets is gonna say he's cooperating.
Because YSL is in fact a corporation tax ID number that has received real legal transactions. They needed that piece, that cooperate, to identify that entity as a gang.
It's quite funny how people will twist themselves into a pretzel for someone they like or have favor for. Overall, people resist acknowledgement of this gray area and the lengths or extremes accepted to justify them. When Tekashi 6ix9ine unapologetically obliterated a gang that he was associated with, the pitchforks came out immediately. He was ridiculed, mocked, slandered, and threatened. There was no in-between from the masses. He was very much disliked, wasn't respected as a so-called gangster, and his antics were considered annoying and toxic. He was definitely responsible for the image he portrayed to the public. But again, there wasn't a huge campaign of sympathy for a young guy that we all knew was straight cap and just performing and being a villain for the views. Fast forward to present day in the YSL RICO case. Sergio Kitchens AKA Gunna has taken a plea deal. Now, under normal baseline circumstances, with all things being equal, he would immediately be considered cooperating with law enforcement, aka snitching. If you knew nothing at all about Sergio, the public consensus would be that he was telling. They haven't even been incarcerated a full year yet. The trial was slated to begin in January, and he is already out on the Alford plea deal. Now, when this particular plea deal was announced, they tried to make it seem like it was something commendable, that he took this particular plea deal, of course, like it was something different than any other plea deal. His team immediately put out a statement even before we knew about the plea deal, basically trying to justify it as if he wasn't telling. Then afterwards, we see the video of him in court saying, "Yes, ma'am, we are a gang."
I became affiliated with YSL around 2016. Is that true as it pertains to you, Mr. Kitchens?
Yes, ma'am.
YSL is a music label and a gang, and you have personal knowledge that members or associates of YSL have committed crimes in furtherance of the gang.
Yes, ma'am.
You were present when law enforcement officers stopped a vehicle in which you were present along with Jeffrey Williams, wherein hydrocodone, methamphetamines, and a firearm were recovered. These items did not belong to you.
Yes, ma'am.
And do you acknowledge the following statement? I recognize, accept, and deeply regret that my talent and music indirectly furthered YSL the gang to the detriment of my community. YSL as a gang must end. Is that your statement or acknowledgement?
Yes.
If your co-defendant's whole defense is that YSL isn't a gang, how in the hell are you admitting the fact that YSL is a gang and you've witnessed members of said gang commit crimes in open court? How is that not snitching on everybody? He wanted to be home for Christmas, so he decided to tell. In the span of 6 to 8 months, he decided he wanted to be pushing pleas and paperwork. Now that's definitely a couple of those P's he may have been rapping about. With all this evidence for the world to see, for some reason, all these prominent figures, rappers, and celebrities want to be extremely lenient or hesitant to label Gunna as a snitch. In contrast to how they treated Tekashi 6ix9ine, this is a clear example of hip-hop hypocrisy. Don't get me wrong, I don't want to see him or any of my brothers and sisters in prison, especially if they are innocent of doing anything wrong. Neither do I want to see them castigated and destroyed by the media and public perception. But like I said in the previous video, everybody always says keep that same energy. But that same energy is never kept. In today's world, a lot of success benefits and leniency is based off likability. That's not a knock on those who afforded these advantages. It's just highlighting the truth about how the system works and how people really operate. The ignorance of the word snitch doesn't really carry the same weight as it used to. In today's society, you can become even more famous because you were telling or implicating people for doing crime. And I'm honestly really not against that either, because if you were staying away from people doing illegal activities, you wouldn't be in a position to be told on in the first place. Or if you took it upon yourself to do your illegal activities alone, you always be in the clear. The biggest issue I see is that so many people want the fame, the money, the acknowledgement, and the prestige that they are willing to risk their freedom to get it. Then afterwards, once those cell bars are locked and closed, they will do anything or say anything to get out, even if that means losing their life on the outside as well. Bottom line is that the ignorance, delusion, and misinterpretation and culture of hip-hop community is very toxic at the moment. There's so many people outside the black community benefiting from it as well. Until there is a line in the sand drawn, this ignorance will continue to fill our minds, our streets, and our morgues. The question becomes, what will you do to help draw this line in the sand? Deuces.
Many guys from O Block, right? I've been there. I know these guys. I interviewed a bunch of them. I fuck with them. I fuck with the GDs as well. None of them have told me that they think these titles are in any way out of line, because to them it just seems like common sense. If you're going to interview these guys, of course you're going to talk about the shit that they actually talk about in their music.
Now you sound like a label head.
No, now I'm tight, kinda. I ain't gonna hold you. Think about this.
This interview came out. He had no complaints. None of the O Block guys had any complaints. You guys are so much more sensitive than the actual gang members.
You know why? Because we're in our 40s. Right. Stop.
And not wrapped up in this at all.
No, let me finish. No. He's saying we're more sensitive. Yeah. We're the young black people that are these kids' parents. These are our little brothers. These are our fucking nephews that are outside killing each other, and you white people are now interviewing them.
What about when they went? What about when he went on those music and dissed all his ops in the music so that I could then later ask him about it in interviews?
I would love to finish.
Finish.
He ain't making the money you are. You sitting there interviewing these black kids that are fucking killing each other and y'all monetizing it. That's not cool. I don't give a fuck what they talking about in they songs. Y'all are turning a profit off of this black trauma of them killing each other. Yeah, they the ones doing the killing because they young and they dumb and they don't fucking know no better. We 45 and 46 years old and we know better because these are our nephews. So they not your nephews, and that's why you don't see the Kevin Samuels shit in the same light that we see it, because you're a white dude and you don't understand what he is. Except Kevin Samuels was causing a black
drill rappers aren't worthy of being interviewed.
I'm not, bruh. You're not gonna spin my words. I'm sharp.
I mean, that's what I'm taking from what you're saying.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
I interviewed this dude and I asked him about his music and his content.
True. And what I'm telling you is he's 19, 20, 21 years old. He's gonna give anything just to be on somebody's fucking camera and get some light shined on his project.
I interview rappers.
What I'm saying is he lost his life.
I interview rappers all the time.
These people are losing their lives, and you keep telling me about the business of.
And I interview them, and they don't.
They don't
talk
better.
About crazy shit. No, because they do know better. I'm telling you, most
one?
Street rappers, when you interview them, are not gonna say shit about their ops, or they're not gonna whatever.
Older ones.
They're smart about it.
Older ones.
Smarter ones.
He was someone.
Saying ops?
He was someone. That's a normal word to me. He was someone who was more open about the people he was beefing with. Obviously, he's like Lil Durk's top op while he was living, right? And so he's talking about his problems with Lil Durk because that's a prominent theme in his music and stuff.
Stop. This ain't funny,
you
Parks.
hang out with people who say
Parks, it's not funny, Parks. Stop.
His enemy is a word that has been used for as long as time. Okay. He's talking about this stuff in his content, so I asked him about it during the interview because that's what a lot of his content is about. Of course I want to know about the conflict that he has with one of the top rappers that he has beef with.
True.
How can I not ask these guys about the shit they're making music about?
You're not saying one wrong thing.
Right.
You are not saying one wrong thing. What I'm saying is I find it somewhat disturbing that somebody that is outside of what these boys endure on a day-to-day basis, interviewing them and monetizing it for your own personal gain when these kids are dying. This is them and their family's trauma that you guys are monetizing to turn a fucking profit. And you're calling it journalism. That's not fucking journalism.
They're gaining from it as well.
No, they're not.
Yes, they
No,
do.
they're losing.
It's promoting